Welcome to the final Q&A video of 2020. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section and let's begin. Hey Alex, I want to do dips for chest emphasis, but I never really feel my chest. I only feel my triceps and scapular muscles. Is there a certain form I can use to activate my chest more? In terms of upper back activation, that is completely normal. The weighted dip is a movement where your body is going through space and requires a lot of stabilization by default. So for that, it's all good. But not feeling chest can be attributed to two factors. One is not doing a deep enough range of motion, so half reps are performed, and in your case, shoulders might be a strong point, hence why you're feeling the triceps so much. You're actually correcting a weakness through that dipping form. And the second feature is keeping your body far too upright. So in this case, the solution is very simple. Just lean all the way forward as if you're trying to replicate a push-up. You're going to find your groove naturally. All I can say about that is try lifting heavy on the dips. Once you go above a certain percent, you're naturally going to find that lean that maximizes your leverages. And that's when the chest activation is really going to come into play. You don't really have to squeeze your pecs that hard or think about the pecs much at all, provided the range of motion is deep and consistent and that you're leaning forward as much as possible. So that's honestly all you have to do. And in regards to the scapular area, I would suspect that you're protracting at the top, hence why you're feeling a bit more. So I don't really have an issue with that because there is no restriction of the scapula in a way to dip. So keep doing that, but the range of motion and torso angle has to be addressed. Hey Alex, can you build mass with high volume regular push-ups, pull-ups, squats? If so, why do many people say you cannot and that it's actually only endurance training? Well, they simply don't know any better. They believe that there are specific rep ranges that develop hypertrophy, whereas others do not. You know, it's the false impression that 15 to 20 is only endurance, 8 to 12 is purely size, and going 5 and below is only strength, when that cannot be further from the truth. In reality, it's about consistent progressive overload in the long run and having adequate volume with the frequency to pair with it, depending what you're doing on that given session. And going to failure matters a lot in this case when we talk about high volume. This is why guys fail to build muscle with simple bodyweight workouts. The truth is, they're not doing enough reps. And their reps in reserve is so far from zero that it makes sense why they're not growing as optimally as they should be. If you're doing 4 sets of 25, for example, on a push-up, I would say by rep 22, it should be really, really hard. Like you should be close to failure, or you should be getting 25 every single set, though that might not be the best in the long run in terms of fatigue management. So we want to leave a little bit left in the tank, not going to failure every single set, but getting close to it. You have to put in enough effort and do enough sets. If you're running a minimalist routine, let's just say push-up, squat, pull-up, and you're going to do, say, 3 to 5 sets and leave, that's not enough. What does the evidence say is best? About 10 to 20 sets of body part per week. So why are you not doing that with calisthenics is my question. Or if you are, why are you not getting close to failure? So what you probably have to do is double, triple, or even quadruple your volume in some cases while making sure that those sets are super intense. And a lot of guys don't have the mental capacity to push through the pain. That's another potential problem of relying on these low percentages, but you can build muscle weights as little as 35% of your 1 rep max. That's already been established. So if you're not pushing yourself hard enough, it's not the exercise that's the problem. It's you. So let me end off my answer by saying, look into prisoner style workouts and definitely subscribe to Iron Wolf on YouTube. He will show you the way in terms of building muscle with very high volume calisthenics. I'm telling you, you're probably not putting enough effort. Or if you don't want to go quite as intense within that session, at least increase your training frequency. This way it makes up for it at the end of the week. What's up, Alex? I'm currently running a Novice program, but on the 2 days in between, I do things like sprinting, jumping, hang cleans, etc. for sport. Do you think that's okay or compromising recovery? The hang cleans, in my opinion, are absolutely problematic, but the thing to consider here is you're an athlete of some type. Therefore, your work capacity is higher than most novice lifters. So maybe you can get away with this. What I will say is the depth jumps or box jumps, whatever you're doing jumping wise, is going to be fine as long as you don't overdo the volume. So I wouldn't stress about that aspect. But the sprinting, maybe a little bit because it's technically a max effort strain unless you're not going balls to the wall. But doing a few rounds here and there, it'll absolutely interfere with recovery. And in my Novice program, you're squatting on a frequent basis. So legs are a huge part of the system. There's probably ways around this, like using the lowest volume listed or just reducing the accessory work a bit. But is that what I want you to do for the program? Not really. But sometimes you got to weigh out the pros and cons. And for you, this might be a better path. So I'm not going to make a lot more comments. Just know that your sleep and nutrition need to be on point if you plan on doing this the whole time. And you won't feel 100% refreshed compared to the guys who are not adding in all this extra stuff, especially the hang cleans part. Though I would say that if you plan on doing GPP calisthenics, just basic push-ups and pull-ups, bodyweight squats, etc., not going to failure, that's probably a better idea in terms of not compromising recovery compared to the high-intensity activities that you just listed. Do you think rotation of exercises to avoid overuse injuries is necessary when using lighter weight for higher reps? Nothing is truly necessary, but there are approaches which are highly recommended. In this case, I would say yes, this is no exception. Even if using light weights, if you're doing the exact same variation year after year, on a frequent basis even, or just forget about the frequency aspect. Let's say you're doing the same movements all the time, never rotating anything. In my opinion, that's absolutely a one-way ticket to Snap City. You're developing repetitive overuse. You should rotate your exercises. I'm not a fan of minimalist training. You're never going to see me promote that on this channel for optimizing your gains. I can talk about little training cycles here and there, like say running small level junior once a year for 3 weeks or whatever you plan on doing. But even then, I don't know if it's worth it considering how much it affects your recovery and the injuries that you might develop as a result of running that program. But listen, I don't like low exercise selection. I've done it before. I had nagging pains and I was younger. Get my low back, shoulders, elbows. I never felt good just keeping the same exercises all the time. So I believe slight tweaks is all you got to do. So if you're just doing push-ups, for example, maybe mix in some close grip stuff as well. Or elevating your hands. It doesn't have to be a major change. A lot of guys are under the false impression that you have to swap the movement completely, which is not what I'm saying is mandatory. All I'm saying is, if you want to minimize injuries as much as possible, the absolute best way is by rotating the variations. This is how you're going to stay in the game for 20 years plus with less wear and tear on the body. Look at the guys promoting minimalism out there. They don't survive that long. They get burned out quickly. They get snapped up quickly. This is cause and effect, just telling you. So I don't care if it's calisthenics or bodybuilding or powerlifting, it doesn't matter. Not only do we have to factor in the law of accommodation, which can technically be overcome through percentages and volume, intensity manipulation, but the overuse. That is the most significant aspect of exercise rotation. Not even the strength results, even though that is absolutely phenomenal. It's the fact that we're not getting into repetitive stress on the body. And just doing a deload here and there or manipulating the percentages is not going to cut it in my books. So yes, to me, it's a necessity. That's how I'm always going to train. In your novice program for the accessory lifts, at what rep range do you add weight? A set of them is 6 to 10 reps. Ideally, if you're doing 3 sets of 6 to 10, you should hit 10, 10, 10, then increase the weight. That's all you got to do. Some guys are going to add weight when they do 10, 9, 8. And then when they increase that load, they're going to be in the low rep ranges, which is still fine. But you can really pick and choose. Do you want to go all out for all 3 sets? Or do you want to get close to that point, but you're still going to increase the weight? Regardless, gains will be made. They're the accessories after all, and you're still inducing progressive overload. Just that the rep ranges are being altered very slightly. And if you jump too soon, you're going to be stuck on that weight longer next time you increase, because now you're at a lower starting point. You want to be strong enough before you start adding weight jumps. Depending on the exercise too, it can be hard to add 5 pounds. So you want to make sure those reps are on point before doing that. Don't train your ego. Progressive overload is happening, so nothing has to be rushed. Yo, Alex, how can I train my glutes without increasing leg size? Well, that's kind of tough to do because even when we talk about the hip hinge exercises, you're going to incorporate the hamstrings to a tremendous extent. And just to get the weight moving off the floor requires leg drive as a whole. So it's not like your quads are going to shrink like crazy. In fact, you're talking to a guy who's done that. Dropped squats, dropped a lot of quad dominant lifts in favor of heavy deadlifts. What happened? My quad size maintained. At first, it shrank just a little bit, but after that, I didn't really lose any significant muscle. Just that my glutes and hamstrings started getting a lot bigger. I became a posterior chain dominant lifter instead of a quad dominant lifter, which is what I always wanted and would actually recommend for athletes or people who want to remain injury-free as much as possible. or just maximize their performance. That said, doesn't mean you should neglect the quads, especially if they're a weak link for you. But I know in my case, I didn't want bigger quads, nor did I care about the barbell back squat and all those variations. So I've done it, and let me say that your legs are still going to be okay. So even though you're probably still going to be okay, I'm going to say you should train the posterior chain as much as possible regardless. Do reverse hypers, do your deadlifts, do glute bridges, try to avoid squats, leg press, and exercise that generally tend to build up the quads like crazy. Would you incorporate cheat rows if you would go for bear mode again? Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. The thing is, I've seen so many gains with the pull-up and high volume strict row combination that I don't really have the desire to do cheat rows. That doesn't mean that they're invalid or that what I said back then was incorrect. I've made recent videos discussing the benefits and how you can use cheat rows in a strategic fashion to overload the upper back and traps and get the benefits that you always wanted yoke-wise. So it absolutely works. And I have no doubt that if I were to do that again, my gains would keep coming. But I just don't care, knowing that there are alternative paths. And actually, I'm going to make a video soon entitled The Athletic Yoke Formula, which does not invalidate my first formula, which was heavily discussed in my yoke playlist. Rather, it's just another method. So I would probably do that instead. But if a guy said, Alex, what if you do only the cheat rows, you drop the pull-ups, you just go back to your roots, do what you did in 2016. Would I continue growing? Yes. I think my yoke would explode. I don't think you talk much about calves and side delts. Do you train them? Side delts are primarily built through my band face pulls. I don't do a lot of lateral raises these days. Haven't done that in a long time, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to say they're bad or ineffective. I would absolutely recommend them. They're in my book. I made many videos discussing the benefits. So just because I may not be doing something doesn't mean that you should copy me. Remember, this channel is not about me. I'm simply the messenger. And in regards to calf training, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I would say that my calves look pretty good. And doing things like running contributed to their size as well. And I used to train them heavily back in the day. So they maintain fairly easily. And even though I have a lot more potential, like a lot more, and I never really had trouble building them per se, I can't really say that I care to grow them that much more. To me, they look fine, though they are important to a certain extent for injury prevention, knee health in particular, and shin splints if you do a lot of running and stuff like that. And the side delts, I mean, I've talked enough about that on this channel. Just type in delts on my search bar and you'll see me discussing everything you need to know about building 3D delts. If I don't feel 100% recovered on some day running the Novice program, should I take a rest day or train anyway? I would train anyway because you're still getting a really good stimulation effect, just that your numbers weren't what they should have been. And in that case, you have to ask why. Did you undersleep? Did you undereat? Or are you getting closer to the intermediate stage and now you're starting to experience more stalls? Hence, maybe needing to reduce the volume a little bit or increase the volume depending. It can go either way. Either you're going to increase the volume or decrease. I can't really say. So either you'll do that or you'll start deloading more, doing more weight resets. Maybe that's what you need. You're experiencing natural plateaus because your experience level is climbing, which is a great thing. It means that you'll be able to switch out that system very soon. Things need to be adjusted accordingly, but my general advice is, train through the soreness. In fact, some guys, when they first start running the system, will be very sore for the first 2 weeks, and they'll be training in a under-recovered state. But after running the program for a few months, you'll generally find an adaptation point where you feel very similar workout to workout. So maybe you haven't hit that stage yet. Or you did at some point, but now you're climbing out of it, which again goes back to what I originally said. You're closing in on intermediate. Hey Alex, I was wondering if I should use a weighted vest or not for my calisthenics because apparently it restricts scapular movement. Is this true? I suppose some exercises might restrict scapular movement depending what you're doing with the vest and how it is set up. Like are you using one of those plate holder vests? In that case, you're doing weighted push-ups, you're restricting the scapular movement. By how much? I don't know. Like technically you can still move it freely, just that you have to force more to do it. And it's not the same as having the weight suspended in front of your body. So I don't know which exercise you're referring to, but I would say that what you're suggesting is probable. Now, should you not get a vest because of that? I don't know. I still think the benefits are worth it. I would probably do it regardless of the scap thing. I don't train with a vest. I use a weight belt with a loading pin. To me, that gives all the benefits I ever wanted. And in some cases, I use ankle weights, or I just manipulate the leverages such that I don't have to go weighted on certain exercises. But for the fundamental lifts, there's other ways around it that don't require you needing to buy that. So you got to ask, why using it, and what are the exercises in which this may not be ideal, or if you are doing certain movements that don't require it in the first place, why are you going to waste your money? Hi Alex, how would you structure a prisoner style dip workout? I reached a point where I'm able to do 20 down dips, but I notice that form breakdown occurs because it's mentally hard for me to do 20 or more reps in a set. How would you change the 7 rep scheme? Well, to me, it sounds like you're just not strong enough to handle it. 20 down is not easy to do, bro. Some guys start off with that on push-ups. So it's not that you're weak, it's just high rep dips in general are going to break you down. You do the math, add it up. Some guys can't even do 5 sets of 15 with just bodyweight dips. 20 down is rough, man. It really is. You should just lower the repetitions. Do a 15 down dip workout. Like, find your groove, find your sweet spot, and then increase by 1 every single time. And you should be able to regain that 20 down, and it's going to be perfectly fine. And you're going to have the mental capacity to push through. You're having trouble pushing through because it's beyond your current capabilities. I don't think it's your mindset that's holding you back. Otherwise, try a different approach. Experiment with ladder type workouts. For example, adding 2 reps every single set. So the first set could be 2 reps. Next, you do 4. Next, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. It's less overall sets than the 20 down approach, and you're working your way up such that fatigue starts to accumulate, but form breakdown is less likely to occur because it was more systematic in this way. And you can also reverse the order as well. You can do a 20 down, but do 20, 18, 16, 14. You get what I'm saying here, right? So maybe that's all you gotta do. Reduce the sets a little bit. Or, like I said, use a different starting point. Hey Alex, what do you think about fat burners? I don't think they make a significant difference in your weight loss journey. They're overhyped, and most guys who sell them also have training programs to accompany the fat burners. So you do their system. It's typically very brutal, high intensity type stuff, or lots of cardio, or you're doing lifting plus the cardio and you're eating correctly. So those are the real factors here. And then the fat burner helps a little bit, but by how much? I've heard that you're getting less than 100 calories a day from using those things at even high doses. So I don't think the evidence is super strong for supporting them, at least when we talk about being significant here. And for me personally, I wouldn't even mess with them. You've seen this cut that I've been going through. I've done it twice now. No fat burners required. I did it through hard work and including a bit of fasting here and there, which is way more powerful than any fat burner you'll ever take. And if you want to talk about ingesting things to make a difference that much more, it's not fat burners that are going to do that. It's other stuff, which I will not promote on this channel, nor have I ever used myself, which I'm very proud to say. So I would say stay away from that stuff. You really don't need it. Just do things right, diet and exercise wise. Hi Alex, what do you suggest for protein supplements? Any particular brand of powder you recommend? Well, first of all, I don't think you need these supplements to begin with. Protein requirements are far lower than you've been led to believe. 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is all that's required for maximum muscle gains. And anything beyond that point is usually for satiation purposes, or if your diet is just not that good and using it to supplement what can already be obtained in normal diet. So I'm not really a massive encourager of protein shakes, though I don't really have a problem if you decide to use them. You know, I certainly have some in my cupboard, but they're just not included as a part of my daily diet. And sometimes they could be convenient. And if you want to cook with them, that's cool too. That said, I do not recommend whey protein. Most of you guys are lactose intolerant. That's what statistics demonstrate globally. And whey is just a waste product from the dairy industry. And we could talk about the ethics about that too, but you probably didn't come for that, right? But I will say that a lot of you guys don't have digestive issues. So instead, get a vegan protein powder. Even if you're not a vegan, you should still do it. It's better for your health, far easier to digest. You're not going to lose any muscle gains as a result of using them. And some of these tend to have other things thrown in there as well, like certain vitamins and minerals. So overall, it's a nice encompassing powder. Now, I'm not going to start naming any brands. You can do your own research on that. Just make sure it's a high quality one. Don't be getting the cheapo powders that taste absolutely horrific, don't mix well, and are loaded with a bunch of filler. Get the best quality possible and your system will not regret it. At the same time, you got to think about the lead content. You do get what you pay for in this regard. Just because something's vegan doesn't mean that it's the way to go. And actually, I've seen some of these that are loaded in saturated fat and sugar of all things. And sometimes they do it in sneaky ways. So I would look out for that. Get something that has a solid reputation that isn't loaded with a bunch of garbage. Hey Alex, I feel like my grip strength is really holding me back on some heavy pulls, rack pulls and pull-ups namely. It's gotten to the point where I'm struggling to rack pull even 2 plates above the knee without my wrist giving in when I know I could pull more for sure. Otherwise, there's something I can do right now or an exercise that will help develop my grip quickly. Much love from the UK. You don't need specialized grip training. To me, the problem is very clear. You're a novice lifter and you're trying to focus on too much stuff. Why are you doing rack pulls above the knee if you're struggling to do 2 plates double overhand? For one, it's easier to do in a double overhand position because the bar is literally on your thigh. And secondly, 2 plates is not heavy whatsoever. That means that your deadlift from the ground is probably at 135 or maybe a little bit less. So you're beginner status, bro. You have no business doing that exercise. And if you're struggling to do pull-ups because of grip strength, it's because you're just not strong at pull-ups. And your grip in general is lagging. You need more of a foundation, my friend. I don't know what your other lifts are at, but it's not that you need specialized workouts. You need some chalk and get on my novice program. That's the truth. Don't let some guy sell you a special grip system when that's not what needs addressing right now. Just saying. Lower all your weights, start building up slowly. That weakness is automatically going to correct itself. Hey Alex, if you do say 500 push-ups, is it theoretically necessary to follow it by 1,000 reps of a back exercise? I'm asking because you mentioned once the 1-to-2 ratio for chest and back exercise. Does this also apply to calisthenics? Keep it up, man. Great freaking question. First of all, the 2-to-1 rule is a general little guideline. It's not set in stone, and there are some pretty good counter arguments to it as well. But what I'll say to this in regards to calisthenics, no, you would not have to do 1,000 reps of pull-ups for the simple reason that we are comparing 2 different intensities. You might be able to do 100 push-ups in one set, yet only do 15 pull-ups. How are you going to match that? See, it's not about the reps. It's about the sets taking close to failure. As long as the reps in reserve are similar, the muscle gaining effect is going to be similar in the push to pull muscles. So in that way, you are going to get balance, though the repetition itself on those push-ups might be a bit more problematic, hence why you might have to do another back exercise. But in terms of matching the repetitions themselves, no, I would not say that's the case. And what you're talking about here, 500 push-up workouts, bro, have you done a 500 pull-up workout? You see me do it on this channel. Let me tell you, it's brutal as most of you won't be able to handle it, just saying. Mentally and physically. It's way, way, way harder than a 30 down push-up workout, which equates to about 465 reps of push-ups. So that's what I would compare it to. In fact, I would say that doing 1,000 push-ups is way easier than 500 pull-ups. Way easier. Maybe it's equivalent to doing 1,500. I would say that's pretty reasonable. So it's about 3 times harder than the push-up aspect. So what does that mean? You don't have to do double the volume compared to your pushes. That's how difficult it is. Though if you really are that concerned about this, just include high frequency rows. This way we're mimicking the exact movement pattern but in reverse. But now because of that extra frequency, we're making up for that loss of volume. So in this way, you don't have to jack up your volume that high on the original calisthenics move. See, that was a really cool question. You're the first one to ask me that, and I hope that I clarified some of those details. Hey Alex, I'm unable to train anything overhead or any delt isolations due to injury. What is the best way for me to still build my delts? All of the horizontal pushes. If you can bench 315 for reps, your OHP is probably going to be close to advanced or even beyond that point. There's no reason why it would not have carryover. If you're strong, you're strong. It's as simple as that. That said, I don't see how you'll be able to perform things like the flat bench or incline bench or floor press, decline. I don't see how you could do that and experience no pain, yet you go overhead and you get pain. Maybe you have a very specific injury here, so I'm not going to talk about that, but just know that the horizontal movements got you covered. In fact, there are some minimalists out there who still got pretty good shoulders, even though they're not doing OHP and stuff like that. So it's not optimal. Obviously, you want to get the biggest delts possible. Do a freaking vertical press with a bit of isolation to go with it. But can you still get jacked without doing that? The answer is yes. Lots of people have demonstrated this to be true over time. Just know that there's a difference between optimal and effective. That is something that I'm going to continue to stress year after year. Hey Alex, what do you think of OHB, pull-up, and belt squat giant sets together? Is that enough to make gains? And what do you think of a thick bar pull-up, grenade pull-up, row pull-up, special exercises? Okay, so that first giant set, I think it's an excellent idea because they all have excellent stimulus to fatigue ratios. OHB, you're probably going to be lifting in the 100s, yet that stimulus effect is tremendous. Most guys who can OHB, say 185, are going to be in the high 2s on the bench. So carryover is there. The stress is great. You really can't go wrong with this time-proven lift. Watch all the videos I've made on the OHB. In regards to the pull-up, it complements it perfectly. You got two vertical movement patterns that don't necessarily interfere with each other that much. Yeah, with the OHB, there's some upper back stabilization, but you should still be able to do your pull-ups just fine right after. So you can go back and forth with that. Excellent superset. And then the belt squat, you have chosen yet another exercise that has one of the best stimulus fatigue ratios of all time. So you're going to get carried with your barbell squats and deadlifts while not affecting your performance for the pull-up and the OHB. Whereas a row and a belt squat might interfere. This won't. And you're giving your body rest every single time. So you do the OHB, then into the pull-ups, then into the belt squats, loop it like that. I think Brian Alsou would approve, man. I think it's a really good idea in terms of reducing axial loading. So we got a big heavy press where we're standing up, whole kinetic chain. Then we got the pull-up, we're moving through space. And then we got our freaking belt squat for some extra sacrum rotation, and it doesn't hurt our back in any type of way. It doesn't interfere with the other exercise. Like, it's perfect. One of the best giant sets you could think of. And then for the thick bar stuff, I think it's really good for building your grip strength, but I wouldn't necessarily do that to supplement your regular variations. Like if I were trying to maximize my 1 rep max pull-up strength, which I am trying to do, especially as we move into 2021, I want to get that 185 pull-up, just the 4-plate mark, you know, I wouldn't really be doing thick bar pull-ups, like with the towel or the grenade pull-up or any of that stuff. I'd much rather use a different variation that allows me to lift very similar loads. It's like saying, should I do double overhand axle bar deadlifts to improve my competition conventional deadlift? My answer to that would be absolutely not. And I don't think that powerlifters would disagree with that statement. You want to train as specific as you possibly can. And for this, really talking about a specialized effect here. Not getting better back gains or giving you the most bang for your buck carryover, even though that will occur to a certain extent, especially if you're repping out some big numbers. You know, if you're repping out over 2 plates for reps with a thick bar, yeah, you're going to get stronger. There's no way around that. But I'm just saying there's more effective ways to raise just your regular pull-up that doesn't require you having to use thick bars all the time. Okay, final question of the year. How to know when you hit your maximum recoverable volume on certain muscle groups? Let's say I did a little reset and now I'm back to my PR weights and it feels like I'm about to fail next workout. I suspect it might be because too many sets for the back, 16 to 18 sets. Okay. Generally speaking, 10 to 20 sets of body part is the way to go. But it's not set in stone. You might fall in the middle of that range to the point where you start to exceed your MRV. And it sounds to me like that's starting to happen. You don't even have to ask me. You'll know. You'll feel it. You'll start to experience regression, stalls, feeling beat down, workout to workout. Basically, the symptoms of overtraining, which is not really overtraining, that's actually overreaching, is going to occur. So that's why guys tend to slowly build up to their MRV before cutting back the volume and actually doing their deloads and stuff like that. So basically just assess it from the perspective of, am I recovering or not? And is it because of the training or other factors? Because I can say this, if you're sleeping like a madman and eating in a calorie surplus and all of your workout variables have been intelligently programmed, yet you're still not recovering and you're not getting the PRs that you want, either you're just not addressing the right weaknesses or you hit your MRV. So in that case, you must take a few steps back to move forward. Simple as that. You'll know when it happens to you. Trust me, there's not much I can say about this. It's something that you intuitively understand and feel when you know for a fact that the program and everything else beyond that point recovery-wise is on point. And keep in mind, just because you might be able to handle 16 to 18 sets for the legs doesn't mean you can do the same for back. Especially when we talk about varying weights and different weaknesses that occur. Not everybody has the same potential for each body part, so keep that in mind. MRV is not set in stone, but typically speaking, when you approach that 20 set mark or even beyond, that's when you pretty much hit it. So if you're hovering in the 10 zone, probably not there yet. It's really when you start pushing the limits of your volume recovery that you start to notice this coming up. So that would be my advice on that. And anyway, we're done this Q&A, guys. I just want to thank you for posting your questions every week. This has been an excellent year for Q&As of all things. I felt like you guys were really creative. You asked me some unique questions, things that I didn't even talk about in the past. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for your support. And I can't wait to keep bringing this content in 2021. We're going to make it a great year. No one's stopping us. Let's not let the environment dictate our success. The truth is we're in control of our bodies, and I'm going to keep giving you this content that you deserve. Let's grow together. Let's get these gains, and of course, finish a year strong. It's not over yet. So post more questions down below, and I'll talk to you in the 2021 Q&A video.